You guys, I fixed it. For some reason, my microphone was muted. You couldn't hear all of the amazing things I was just saying, but that's okay. Technical difficulties, like I said, this is my very, very first workshop by myself. So if you guys came to the last one, I had Jason here, and that was awesome because he's good at all the like tech stuff, and there's two of us to make sure nothing goes wrong. But here I am just all by my lonesome, except for Plaxico's to my right over here. He's not very helpful when it comes to the technology part of this. So sorry about the lack of sound. I hope you were enjoying my very animated facial expressions for a little bit. But look, here we are. I did it. I showed up. You guys can see me. That's all I care about for right now. When we get to the slide portion of the workshop, who knows what's going to go wrong then, but I hope you guys are all with me along for the ride. Hey, there's Plax, little Plax cameo. Plaxico. Plax. I hope you guys enjoyed that. He is pretty sweet. Hey, you're fine. Excuse me, I'm talking to all my friends right now. You're being distracting. He's gonna hang out with us too. So yeah, I was saying hey to everybody. So if you, let me know quickly if you were at the last workshop. So if you're at the last one, just say yes, or I was at the last one, because I'm just curious how many people have been to one of these crowdcasts, how many people haven't, and just so I can get a sense of how many of you are just seeing me in all of my glory for the first time, which should be fun. But we are gonna get started in about a minute or two. I just wanted to have sort of a live workshop, partly because if many of you signed up from the email newsletter, then you know that I've got this idea that I've been kind of working on, and my assistant Laura and I were talking about it, and we were like, you know, we haven't done a ton with it yet, but I was like, I just kind of want to put this idea out there and see what the community thinks, all of the email newsletter subscribers, Self-Made Society, you know, my Instagram community. I just want to get a sense of if this is something that you guys might want or might get value from. And so that's kind of the reason why we wanted to just host a little workshop. So in the second half of today's workshop, we're going to talk a little bit about that, and I'm going to share it with you and get some of your feedback. Ooh, first time crowdcaster. I love this. You guys, this is so exciting. There's so many of you here. Also feel free, as I'm talking, to submit questions in by using the big red button below the video screen. You can submit a question there. Bye, Plax. See ya. Guess I wasn't that entertaining. You can submit a question there, and after I go through the slide portion of the workshop, I'll answer a few of those. I'll probably then go into the idea fund portion and then finish up at the end and answer everybody's questions. I love answering questions. It's like my favorite thing. So please feel free to ask me things. I would love to help you in any way that I can. So that's kind of the rundown of how things are gonna go. And thank y'all for being here. I really appreciate it, and I'm just excited to actually hang out with you guys. Sometimes I'm typing the newsletter and, you know, I get email responses from some of you, so I know a little bit about you, a little bit of your stories, but it's a whole different thing when I can actually be in front of you and share with you guys a bit about my story more in spoken form rather than in written form. Forgive me if I'm not quite as eloquent on my emails as I am on my emails, because they take me a few hours to write versus my just complete off the top of my head talking. So hope you'll appreciate that. So I am going to get right into the slide portion, and just to kind of set this up a little bit, when I was thinking about how I wanted to bring you guys some value, you know, in addition to just having the sort of idea reveal at the end of this, I was thinking, okay, what would be helpful, what would be important? And I know that there are a lot of how-to workshops out there. It's how to do your Instagram, and how to set up your email list, and how to do your website, and how to brand your site. And there's a lot of great information out there, but sometimes I feel like not enough time is spent going over some of the foundational elements. And that's why I wanted to do a workshop all about these mindsets. I couldn't really think of a better word to call them, but basically they're these huge themes that have been in my life over the course, especially over the past 2 years as I've started Made Vibrant. And they're like kind of the 5 most important things that I try to keep in mind on a regular basis. Of course, there are more, but they're the big ones that I feel like kind of guide my life in the right direction, if that makes sense for me. And I wanted to share those with you guys in case maybe it might spark something for you, so that you can kind of get the heart stuff and the mind stuff right before you go out and learn all of this stuff if you want to start a business, or if you want to make a career change, or if you just want to, you know, live as your best self. I think that these 5 things are the important foundation for that. So that's what I want to share with you guys. And I'm going to try my very hardest to dive into the slides now. I think it's going to do like a weird Inception thing, which is exciting. Okay, share, entire screen share. There I go. I just realized that the audio might be off on that, but that's okay. So now I'm going to get into Keynote. And play. Okay, I'm crossing my fingers right now because I can't see you guys, but I've got the chat. So if everyone could just type in the chat and give me a thumbs up or a yes if you can see my screen, because I don't want to start until I'm absolutely sure that everybody can see the Keynote slides. Cool. Can you see my screen? I'm typing in the chat and I have no idea if this kind of goes at the same time as my slides or not. No, I can't hear anything. Okay, Reggie can see me. Nope, can't see it. There might be a delay, guys. So, oh, you see my face. We see you. I can see you and hear you fine. Does that mean the slides? Nope, Ashley sees my face. Now I just see you. Saw your screen. Okay. I'm just gonna let it Let's try it again. Or maybe there's the delay. No slides. Okay, cool. I'm gonna try this again. Screen share, entire screen, share. Okay, let's try it one more time. What about now? So, okay, you guys saw the screenception, which is a really, really hard thing to say. I did try again, so I'm gonna wait again and just see if this works. Thanks for hanging in there with me. Yay, Andre. Okay, screenception. So maybe, yay, okay. So excited. Thanks everybody for hanging in there with me for a sec. Like I said, first time around, there's gonna be weird stuff that happens. So Jason, we did it. Yeah, we all did it together. Okay. So now that we're on the same page, let's get this party started. So before I get into the 5 mindsets, I know that a lot of you guys came from the email newsletter, you came from maybe Instagram. Those are the only 2 real places that I shared it. So I know that a lot of you kind of know who I am, so I'm not going to spend too much time talking about that. But I know that some of you might not know the full history of Made Vibrant, which really kind of goes back to the past 2 years. So, and I wanted to give you that history just because I think it'll provide some important context for some of these examples that I'm going to give you with the 5 mindsets. So we're going to take a little walk down memory lane, and I hope you'll bear with me for that. Some of you, I don't know if any of you have been here like since the beginning. If you have, or if you have been signed up to the newsletter since the early days of early 2014, please share that with me in the comments, or feel free to just you know, type in the chat and let me know when you kind of came across Made Vibrant, because I would love to know that as well. But like I said, I'm just going to give you the quick rundown. So in August of 2013, so that's about 2 years ago, I was working for Jason, who you can see in the chat. I was working for his company, his startup company. He had a cool, awesome marketing company called iwearyourshirt.com, and I was doing operations for him. So I kind of had a little bit of experience of this sort of quote unquote working for yourself. We worked from home and all of that, but that ended up kind of being put on the back burner, that company. And Jason said, okay, do you want to go get another job? Like, I used to work at an advertising agency. What do you want to do? And I said, no, I absolutely don't think I could go back to a 9-to-5 job now that I've experienced the awesome feeling of being completely flexible and completely in control. I was realizing that that flexibility and control were really, really important to me. And so that's when I just, for some reason, decided that, hey, maybe I can go out on my own and make money being a freelance designer. Now, keep in mind, at the time, I had no previous formal design experience. I just knew that over the past previous 2 years, I had been teaching myself design in order to better brand my personal blog. And so I would like stay up till 3 a.m. teaching myself Photoshop and all these things. So I was developing these skills, and I thought maybe I can use these skills to, you know, help other people. So between August and January of 2014, I kind of operated under this freelance brand, Caroline Kelso Design. Kelso is my middle name. So, oh, awesome. Okay, so we've got, sorry, I was just checking on the chat here, and I love that a lot of you guys seem to be new, like within the past couple of months. So I hope that this is going to be interesting for you to hear all of the first year and all of the turmoil that I kind of went through to get to where I am now. So back to January of last year, 2014, I kind of decided I didn't want to just be under this freelance design name. I didn't just want to do freelance design. I really had this passion for blending design with like personal growth. And I was really interested in this intersection of creativity and personal development and design. So I was like, how can I blend all these things together? And I created this, umbrella brand called Made Vibrant. I wanted to create a community. I didn't just want to do design. And I also wanted to set myself up for all of the twists and turns that I knew inevitably were going to happen in starting a business. So I kind of wanted an umbrella to be able to house a lot of the different things that I knew that I wanted to do. So that entire first year was full of like missteps and exploring things and trying new things and failing and sometimes succeeding. And it was definitely a whirlwind of a year. That's why I kind of split up this timeline into two pieces, because I really viewed that first year as sort of the, the beta period for my business, basically. So a couple months in, I was finding design projects here and there. Still, I was really having to scrape by and go and seek out those design clients. People weren't really finding me organically. Meanwhile, I was also experimenting I was trying to sell prints. So I was doing a little bit of my hand lettering art and trying to sell those. And some of them I sold only one print, you guys, only one. And that hurt at first, but as you're gonna see in these major mindset shifts, it's all a part of the learning process, and it makes you realize what you wanna move forward with, what you don't wanna move forward with. And it kind of gives you these little clues in terms of where to pivot, where to turn on the kind of winding path that we're all on. After that, in the summer, I decided that I had this book inside me. I really, really wanted to help people get in touch with their intuition and understand who their core self was. We're gonna talk about that with the first mindset, authenticity, which is a huge one for me. So that didn't sell very many. I think I made only about a couple $100 on that, but it was an awesome experience, and I got to learn how to put together content into an e-published form. So that was important for me too, and it really got my heart into creating products and actually creating things for a community, not just freelance design. Just a quick note as I'm going through this, if you guys have any questions, please, like formal questions, not just sort of comments, please press the big red button below the screen where you can actually ask a question, because that's where I'm going to answer them. And you can upvote other people's questions, which is kind of cool. So, so then after that, I'm like, okay, I cannot make money doing this. I really was at a low point in the summer of that first year because I hadn't been making any money. I don't put this statistic out there a lot, but since you guys are here and you showed up, I really want to share it with you. The first 6 months of my business, I made less than $6,000, which is not enough to live on. Thankfully, I had a really amazing partner that was kind of supporting me through that period. And I remember having this breakdown moment where I was like, am I gonna have to go get a job? Am I not good enough to hack it? And thankfully, Jason was like, don't you dare. Don't you dare go get a job. You just gotta, figure this out and push forward. And I'm really thankful for that, because that was when things sort of started to shift for me, which had a lot to do with another mindset we're gonna talk about in the presentation, which is ownership. And I kind of realized that nobody was responsible for making this company successful except for me. And things were not going to happen to me. I was going to have to go happen to them. So that's when I decided to refocus my entire business on brand design, which was the design thing that I had the most passion around. So I was doing like web design, and I was doing print design. I was doing all these different things. And I decided that if I could just hone it in on one thing that I loved, that I could be more effective at it. So once I did that rebrand, things really started to shift. People started finding me. I think my website was just a lot more clear. The community started building. So the newsletters, community was growing. And I sort of got this momentum, and I was like, this is amazing, which I transferred into launching my very first product, which kind of also was a big turning point in the business because I started realizing that my heart wasn't necessarily in client work. It was more so in creating things that a community of like-minded people really wanted and would find valuable. So I launched the Better Branding course in October of 2014, and that is when a lot of the financial stress started to leave, because finally I had this revenue stream that was working for me instead of having to go out and get all these clients. Meanwhile, I was about 4 months booked in advance for design work. So all these things sort of started happening once I kind of took ownership into my own hands. But that was the point where I kind of had to make this decision in terms of my authenticity. I had to say, okay, do I like client work, or do I like creating products? And I'm not saying you can't do both, you absolutely can, but it became really apparent to me that client work was not what lit me up. And I wanted to focus all of my attention into serving this amazing community, all of which you are in, and to connect with people like you guys, because that's what I really, really love. And so that's where I made the decision in January of this year, 2015, to stop taking on client work altogether. Every project that I had already agreed to, I said yes. Every project that came through my inbox past that point, I said no, which was really hard for me. But eventually I was able to focus more of my attention onto building really great products, one of which was the Better Branding course, which launched in April. And a lot of you guys are in here that are Better Branding course students. And I found that that is what I love to do. I love to help people become their brightest selves. And so now I'm in this place in my business where I feel like I'm doing exactly what I want to be doing every day. And that's what I want for all of you guys. So I know that was a little bit long. I know it's a winding road, but I wanted to share it with you guys. I think it's really important for you to know the twists and turns that happen. I think a lot of times people and entrepreneurs share just the highlights, but I was $7,500 in debt, and I was, at a point where I thought about going back and getting a job. So I want to share those things with you guys to know, so that you have context for the fact of when I go through these 5 mindsets, how those things really got me through to this point where I am now. Cool? All right, so the first mindset that we're gonna talk about, which is the absolute, I call it the Mac Daddy of mindsets, because this is the guiding principle that literally, is the most important thing in everything that I do. And that is authenticity. And when I talk about authenticity, what I'm really saying is, at least in my definition, is finding alignment between who you are and what you do. And so really think about that for a second, who you are and what you do. And I came to this realization a couple weeks ago. Normally when I show this slide or when I talk about this concept, I talk about the 2 circles coming together, coming closer to each other until they overlap. But I realized that one of these is more static than the other, right? So who you are, I'm talking about your true self. I'm talking about the person that you arrived on this planet, whatever that core essence is, whatever that mix of talents and gifts and quirks and flaws and all of that messy, beautiful stuff, that is, I think, more static. I think that, to some extent is kind of, predetermined when we arrive here, and it's our job to kind of remove the layers of the stuff and the shoulds and all of that in order to reveal it. So that's why I've kind of amended this diagram to show you what you do coming closer to who you are, and that means your actions. So when I talk about authenticity, what I'm really saying is, are you making decisions and are you acting in a way that is revealing who you are, that is in alignment with who you are? So when we talk about this, the important part is, in the first step in that, is really figuring out who you are, right? Like that is the most important part, so that then you can make decisions that are acting in accordance with that. And a lot of that takes, introspection, and it takes understanding yourself and questioning yourself. And attending workshops just like this, where you're having to kind of look critically at who you are and what lights you up and what doesn't, and get really honest about those things. And over the past 2 years, I've constantly been paying attention and saying, okay, does this make me feel good, or does this make me feel icky? Does this light me up, or does this make me feel suppressed? Or does this make me feel free and alive and creative and like I'm completely lit up? Or does it make me feel like I'm restrained or that I can't be my true self? And constantly evaluating that on a regular basis, almost to the point where it's even unconscious now or subconscious, is really important, because that's how you figure out what that core essence is. And then you can, you know, create things and you can act in accordance of who that person is. So a great example of this is when I talked to you guys about the really, really hard decision of letting go of client work. And that was a question I had to ask myself, because I wasn't enjoying it anymore. I felt a little bit, I felt like I wasn't doing my best work, because I felt like, I'm a person who very much struggles with the expectations of other people. And it's something that I am constantly working on to let go of. But I knew that I was constantly putting myself in situations where I was measuring my worth based on how I was measuring up to my clients. And in a lot of ways, if you're a designer, that's what you should do, because they're paying you for a service. But I didn't like the way that it made me feel all the time. And so I had to ask myself, okay, either I can spend years getting better at this, or I can accept my authentic self and I can try to pivot and create my business in a way that is more authentic to who I am. So I hope that that gives you a little bit of an example there. I'm also gonna take a sip of water because this is a lot of talking. I wish you guys could, like, you know, pop in and talk to me too. Another just example of authenticity is that I've more recently come into contact with is I've discovered that I'm a lot more of an introvert. I think growing up, people thought that I was an extrovert because, you know, when I am in groups, I like to talk. I'm not very shy, but I am introverted. I gain my energy from being alone and being sort of, you know, with my thoughts and not having to, like I said, to measure myself up to the expectations of other people. And so something that I've struggled with a lot lately is like saying no to group things. You know, there are some times where I do say yes, but if I feel like I'm really completely drained or spent, and I know I'm not gonna be my best self at an event, or even like saying no to interviews and things like that, part of authenticity and part of being your best and brightest self is realizing that you're gonna have to say no to things. And I know that can be hard, but it's been really important. So just to recap there, this is what you're aiming for. You know, you're trying to take who you are and what you do and have them overlap to such a point where you're constantly moving forward in a way that is really completely aligned with who you are at your core. So I hope that makes sense. So this leads me to my second mindset, which was really, really important for me, and that is experimentation. Jason, who is in the chat, and I have kind of this life mantra, and that we say all the time, and it's just, life is an experiment. And that's how we as a couple, as a partnership, view the world. And it's just that we're only here for a certain amount of time, and we're only gonna learn what our best use of that time is by trying things. I'm gonna say it like 4 more times because it's so important. You just have to try things. So people ask me all the time, you know, I've got all these passions, like how do I choose? How do I know what to, you just choose one and you try it. You know, you can't just expect to, excuse me, drink of water. You can't just expect to sit in a room and think about what your passion is, or think about, you know, what the future is gonna hold for you. You really have to get out there and start acting in order to learn from it. And so that leads me to an important conversation I want to have about creation versus consumption. So I know that a lot of us, especially in the world that we live in, the digital world that we live in, we rely really heavily on consumption. So tell me if any of you have this experience. Have any of you had an idea for something? Like let's just say it's a course, because I have experience with that. Let's say it's a branding course, and you go, you're so overwhelmed with where to start and what to do that you go and you Google search every other branding course that you could possibly find in the depths of the internet. And you see, what are they doing? How did they write their sales page? You know, what did they call their course? Because, you know, starting with a blank page is really scary, right? You don't want to make a wrong turn. You don't want to, you know, do the wrong thing. But the truth is, I promise you, all that is going to do is block your creativity. All that is going to do is keep you completely paralyzed because now not only are you afraid of doing the wrong thing, but you're afraid that the wrong thing is everything that you want to do because you don't see anyone else doing it. So when I started Made Vibrant, I wanted to make it dark with like bright colors. I wanted a lot of black and white and bright colors. And all I saw other designers doing with their blogs was like this like monochromatic, light, airy, light typography, like white space. And I was like, that's not me. And I remember just sitting there and being like, I need to change my entire aesthetic because I'm doing this wrong. And that was because I was stuck in consumption mode rather than creation mode, which was just like, let me try this and see if it works. And that's what I'm talking about with experimentation. So if you take one thing away from this sort of little section, I want you to remember, when it comes to learning, err on the side of action. And Jason is the perfect person for this. He's got an email newsletter called The Action Army, and he is the best person I've ever met in terms of being able to take action on his ideas. But it's so important because even if you learn by consuming, which is sometimes really great for getting like that spark, right? Like right now, this is an example. You guys are here because maybe you're gonna get that spark from some of these slides, and then you're gonna take it and you're gonna create with it and you're gonna act on it. And that's where you're gonna get the most important learning. So when it comes to learning, err on the side of action, because whatever you learn is gonna be based on your specific situation and your authenticity, going back to that important one before. Cool, is everybody with me? I'm really sorry my voice is doing like the horse thing. Maybe it's making me sound more sexy, I don't know. I'm gonna go with yes. So the next mindset that I wanna talk about, which really relates strongly to the one before, is imperfection. And I'm here to tell you guys that I am a recovering perfectionist. I'm a recovering overachiever. For the first main part of my life, I was this like super nerdy, bookworm, academic person who had to get straight A's at all costs. And when I started my business, I think that mindset really, really hurt me because I waited an entire year to start my very first personal blog back in 2011 because I couldn't come up with a name that was good enough. Talk about like perfection completely, paralyzing, going back to that word from before. And so once I really embraced this idea of imperfection, also part of that was my lettering practice, which really helped me because in lettering, the more imperfect it is, the more personality it has. And so I started to see imperfection as this positive thing instead of this negative thing. And I also realized that when you aim for perfection, you rob yourself of progress. Okay, you guys, this one is really important. You have to realize that if you are placing perfection as a value above all else, there is a trade-off that goes on there, which is that you're robbing yourself of progress. By sitting still and saying, okay, I'm not gonna publish this thing, or I'm not gonna publish this post, or write this book, or put this website up until I have made sure there are no typos, there is no pixelation on my photos, there is nothing. You are, every day that goes by that you're trying to achieve that perfection, which by the way, does not exist, that's a day of progress that you took away from yourself. And so I know there's this quote, and it might be cliche, but it is one that has absolutely changed my life. And it's, a year from now, you will have wished you started today. And that's what actually made me finally publish my first personal blog back in 2011. There would be no Made Vibrant without that personal blog. And I was so tired of waiting for the perfect name that I just thought to myself, what are 3 words that describe me? And I felt so cliche for doing that. But I was like, clumsy, crafty, happy. So that was my first blog. And it was just clumsy, crafty, happy. And do you know how many people told me they loved that name? So many people. And I was like, well, it's just so cheesy. There's nothing cool about it. And it didn't matter. What mattered is that I started it in the first place and that I put it out there and that people could start reading my words and I could start sharing, my heart and my stories with the world. So I want you guys to really remember this one. Also, getting comfortable with imperfection is only going to come with time. So I'm really going to challenge you to, whenever you are about to do that big scary thing, hit that publish button or post that on Instagram or do whatever to share with your community or to start doing whatever you want to be doing. Right before that moment where you're so scared, remind yourself that it's only going to get easier next time. And remind yourself that you're doing it. Like, at least you're doing it. You know what I mean? And so you're making progress, and that's what's really important. All right, number 4. I'm taking a breath for this one because it's important. Number 4 is this idea of ownership. And I'm going to call some of you out right now because there is a chance that if you're here and maybe you're not doing the work that you know that you want to be doing, or maybe you're not living the authentic way that you want to be living, and I'm going to challenge you to look at yourself and ask yourself if you are putting yourself a little bit in the victim role, because this is what I did back when I wasn't making very much money with the business last summer, and I was just like, I'm not good. Like, why aren't clients coming to me? Like, I put all of the ownership on the world instead of putting all the ownership on myself. And I kept playing the victim, and I was like, this isn't working. Why am I different? You know, why is this happening to me? And like I mentioned before, it wasn't until I flipped that mindset and said, wait a second, things don't happen to me. I go and I happen to things. And so it's just about taking back control and realizing that you are completely within your control to live in the way that you want to live. And a lot of times I hear people say, I can't do this. I can't quit my job. I can't, you know, make time for my side project, you know, after my 9-to-5 job. And really, when we say the words, I can't, what we're really saying is I'm scared, you know, because it's not that you can't quit your job. It's I'm scared that if I do, that I'm not going to find something else or money isn't going to come in. And that's valid. Like, we're all scared, but you have to take the ownership back on yourself and realize that you are in control of making those decisions, you know? And I'm telling you, once you do that, everything can honestly change for you. Once you realize that you are responsible for, you know, getting up every morning and doing the things that you were meant to do, for experimenting, for taking imperfect action, all of those things we've already talked about, once you kind of realize that the power is in your hands, things can really change. And on the flip side of that, I want you to remember not just who you're responsible for and what you're responsible for, but who and what you're not responsible for. So this is something that I still struggle with to this day, and it's something I'm really working on right now. And it's that I'm not responsible for how people react to me being my authentic self. And it's really, really hard sometimes, because I want to make decisions that are going to make me my brightest self, but I'm also worried about how other people are going to react to that. But that's not for me to take on, you know, that's not for me to worry about. And so if you waste your energy trying to, you know, manage and control the emotions or the feelings of other people, it's going to distract you from the important part, which is to just lead by example and to do things that make you come alive. And the right people are going to be attracted to that energy. Does that make sense? I hope it does. And I hope that wasn't harsh. But I'm not responsible for the way you're reacting to this right now, so I'm telling myself that. So the final one before we get into all of the fun stuff is evolution. And it starts with this. So you do not need to know the ending before you begin. How many of you guys out there, you know, have projects that you want to start and you're like, okay, but I want to know if this is going to be able to, you know, sustain me and my family for like 5 years down the road. And also if I'm going to be able to like start a stationery line off of this, because what if that doesn't fit? And a lot of times we don't allow ourselves this space to evolve and to like get messy. And you guys saw that timeline at the beginning of all of this, and it was completely ridiculous. Like, I thought I wanted to be a stationery designer. Then I thought I wanted to be like a fine artist. Then I thought I wanted to be like a big brand designer. Then I thought I wanted to be like a speaker and a writer. And it's okay, because all of us are evolving all the time, and you have to allow yourself the space to do that. One thing that a friend of mine asked me that has always stuck with me is, she said, you know, I'm afraid to try these different things because I'm afraid that people are going to think that I can't stick to one thing, that I'm a quitter. And I don't know if any of you guys out there feel that way, but I can totally relate to that. You know, even I sometimes like I will try something. For example, like if some of you guys are in the on the newsletter, so I started this little Slack channel, and I started doing a Slack chat for like 2 weeks, and I was like, I'm going to see how this goes. And honestly, it just got to the point where there wasn't enough conversation to sustain it to justify me putting the energy into it. So I just stopped. And like, there was a time where I would have been so kind of embarrassed, and I would have been like, oh my God, like I only did that for 2 weeks and people are going to think I'm flaky and blah, blah, blah. But guess what? Like, it didn't work, and that's okay. And I'm not going to allow that to hold me back from putting my energy towards things that do matter and that are going to make a big impact for you guys. So what I'm saying is that it's okay if you evolve, and it's okay if you give something, you know, a good college try and it doesn't work out. Move on. Move on. Okay, so I'm going to check back in with the chat really fast. How does everybody feel about those mindsets? Like, I hope it was helpful. If you have any questions about them, like I said, please, please, please you know, place them. I can see some questions down here, which we're gonna get to at the end, which I'm really excited about. But please, if you have a question, feel free to click that orange button below the video and submit your question so I can get to them all at the end, because I love question and answer time. I was gonna pause for questions, but to be perfectly honest, I'm just too excited, so we're gonna push forward. And now I'm gonna tell you guys kind of what's next. And I'm a little bit nervous because it's really, really weird to have this idea and to really hope that it's gonna be worth it to put it out into the world. But that's why I wanted to have this workshop, because it's the type of thing that I don't see existing right now. And it takes a little bit more explaining than like a website can do or anything like that. So I want to tell you guys that I've been thinking about this for about a year now. And if you are on the email newsletters, I think you're gonna really like it, in terms of it's pretty much like my Monday newsletters on steroids is how I've been kind of describing it. But I had this idea about a year ago, and I thought to myself, you know, in terms of what I need in my life and what brings me the most value, yes, it's some of those how-to things that we talked about before. Like, yes, teaching people how to do hand lettering so that they can open up their creativity is important and something that my heart is in. Yes, you know, teaching people how to do branding so that they can start their own creative business and have flexibility in their lives is important. But as I was describing to you guys throughout this entire presentation, I think that before any of that how-to, helpful, tactical stuff, there's not enough information or inspiration out there in terms of helping you on a regular basis get your mind and your heart right, and to keep it consistent. So I don't know about you guys, but you know, some of these things that I've talked about here today, they're top of mind for me. But sometimes, you know, I enter seasons of my life and I'm like, well, I completely forgot about being my authentic self. Like, I have not been doing that at all. And it's because life gets in the way, you guys. It's freaking hard, you know? It's hard to just go and make decisions every day without having these constant reminders. And so that is what I want to create for people. I want to create this new idea called Color Your Soul. And my idea is that it's a monthly mindfulness subscription to make your everyday brighter. And the way that I'm kind of describing it is it's sort of a digital magazine meets a membership site meets a printable library. And the idea is that it would be a monthly subscription, so you pay by the month, you can cancel at any time, and that for that month, sort of like a magazine, the entire thing revolves around a certain theme. So, you know, it's color your soul with authenticity, or color your soul with ownership, or whatever that word is. And for that entire month, it's my responsibility to provide you with content that is going to inspire you, that's gonna help you question your own life and ask some of these big, juicy questions. There's gonna be an email series, companion series that goes out weekly with questions around the central theme called Soul Studies. And so the idea is that it asks you some of these big questions and provides you with content, interviews. I wanna talk to really amazing people that are living their best and authentic lives out there, and I want to bring you guys great content from them. I want to feature amazing artists that are doing cool stuff. I want it to be this, what I've been calling it is like a digital Birchbox for your soul. You know, I want it to be this treasure trove of resources where every month you feel reignited, right? Because we all kind of lose that spark. As I mentioned before, life gets in the way, and so it gets dimmer and dimmer. And sometimes, you know, we find things like this, today's workshop, where you show up and you're like, yes, I'm freaking jazzed. I've been there. I've gone to a workshop, or I've gone to an event, or I've found a new, you know, blog or something like that, that I walk away from it and I'm completely reignited. And that's what I want to create for people. So if you guys are interested, and I'm happy to answer questions about this, like I said, it's very early stages. If you're interested, I want you to go over to coloryoursoul.co. And I want you to pop in your email address so that I can kind of compile a list of people that are interested in this idea. I definitely want to make it affordable. So I don't know what that cost is going to be on a monthly basis yet. But I also want it to be really, really, really great quality content, which means it's going to take time. It's just me and my assistant Laura as of now. So, you know, that does mean that I'm going to have to price it in such a way that it justifies the time. But Thundercats are Thanks, Jason, for dropping that link. I totally forgot to even drop it in there. So if you sign up with your email address, you will get on the email list. And the first email that I'm going to send you is in a couple of days, and that's going to be to actually have you vote on the first month's issue theme. So I'm going to have 3 different themes. I have one that I'm a little bit leaning towards right now, but I want to see if you guys are on board with it. And so that's kind of where I'm heading with all of this. I still am going to do resources like my, your first e-course, mini course and things like that. I'm still going to do the how-to stuff, but this is where my heart is. And I think you guys know that. The newsletters are where my heart is. I want to be that person that takes that kind of is your accountability cheerleader to be your authentic self and to be your brightest self all the time. So all of that being said, I hope some of you check it out. And now I think I'm gonna pop my face back on. You are screen sharing. Stop screen sharing. Yay! Oh my gosh, you guys, I'm getting hot. I was so nervous and I just did that, so I'm like sweating, but it's okay. Now I want to answer some questions. I tried to be respectful of all of your time, so I wanted to finish up all the good content at about 11:45. So now for the next 15 minutes or even longer, because I got nowhere to be, I want to answer some questions. And how do I do that? I'm not 100% sure. Here we go, Q&A. Can you guys see me okay? Can everybody see me? Put on your sunglasses before you go over there. Go over where? Go over where? Oh, before you go over to Color Your Soul. Yeah, Deanne, nobody can accuse me of not being vibrant. But you just gotta go for it, And that's the colors on the website. That's how I want to make you feel when you get your monthly issue, when you get your monthly subscription. But that's really funny. Okay, so let's start answering some questions. Okay, so this one comes from Mary, and she says, what I feel the most challenging is being brave. I'd like to call myself creative and full of ideas about what I could do and what life could be. I have a well-paid job, feel like I can't give that up. I like what I do. I would love to do more even for a living. That's my dilemma at the moment. I know I have to answer that for myself, but inspiration can't hurt. So you answered your own question, Mary, but okay, let's talk about being brave. Courage is a hard thing, and I think it comes with time. I think that maybe a way that you can start, Mary, is by making like little wins for yourself. So maybe you're not ready to give up your full-time job in order to pursue your passion. Maybe that is too scary right now. But I talk about this concept in Connecting with Your Core, which is the ebook that I wrote a while back, and it's that oftentimes, if we're living in a way that we feel like isn't our best self, or maybe like we're at a job that isn't our favorite or something like that, we see what we want to do, and we almost view it like this river bed where you're on one side of the river, you see like the promised land on the other side of the river, what you want to be doing, and all you see in the middle is this like tumultuous, like treacherous water, right? You're just like, it's too far. It's too scary. I can't make that leap. But what I encourage people to do is start to see that leap less like I have to take a running start and like leap over that treacherous water to get to the other side, and more, I want you to try to see these little kind of rocks that are going to start popping up in the river. And so that you can take these tinier steps to kind of go from here to this rock, and then this rock to this rock, and then this rock to, and pretty soon you're just hopping on rocks to get to the other side, and you're not taking on this big, scary, huge change in your life. So I guess to answer your question in terms of building up that courage, I would just ask yourself, what are those small wins that you can do? What are those small acts of bravery? Is it, finally deciding to buy the URL of your new business idea that you want to do? Is it talking to a couple friends about this thing that you want to do, and really allowing yourself to start carving out time to work towards it? That's an act of courage in itself, to just say, I'm going to be, audacious enough to take this on. So that's what I would say. And then the second part of it I would challenge you to go back to, I think it was number 4, the mindsets, and just remember the ownership is on you. So your best life isn't going to just happen to you. You have to go out and get it. And just remember that, and remember that you're in control of what were you saying? You want to do this thing that you love to do. You want to have this creative life. And so no one's going to hand it to you. You're going to have to go out and get it. So maybe starting with some of those smaller wins will help you get there. I hope that helps. Done, answered. Guys, this is fun. How's everybody liking it? I'm taking a quick break for water. Also, I told you my lipstick was just gonna smudge off. Yay, Mary! Own it, sister. Okay, next up we have Evie or Evie. You tell me. Let's go with Evie for now. I too feel like a creative person. Unfortunately, I don't have an idea or skill that I can transform into a business. I'd love nothing more than to work for myself and be driven by passion, but I can't seem to find something to grab onto. Any advice for anyone that wants to find a business to start? Ooh, this is good. So you do feel like you're creative, first of all. You identify as a creative person. And so I do truly believe that even though you don't feel like you have maybe a skill that you're an expert at, you have something to say. You have a set of gifts and talents and things. You might be more of the jack of all trades person, but that's okay. There's a benefit to that. So I would first start with doing a lot of self-investigation and saying, okay, even though I don't feel like I have this skill that is so obvious, what's unique about me? What can I bring to the table? What have my experiences allowed me to be good at? And maybe that is a lot of different things, but also maybe you're the, creative assistant. Like Laura, who's my creative assistant that I hired 2 months ago, she's amazing. And she does have flexibility because she can work remotely. We work together and things like that. She's doing her thing, even if that thing is to be a support to other people who maybe do have the one skill or whatever that you say. So I'm just trying to give you ideas of like, I would just really ask yourself, there's something that makes you unique in this world. What is that thing? And also, even if you don't know what your business is going to be yet, I would challenge you to start by just putting your voice out into the world. So even if you don't know what you want to say or what you want it to be around, like I was saying in mindset number 2, experimentation. Do you have a blog? Do you want to share that with people? Do you want to try taking photos? Do you want to try doing art? Whatever those things are. If you are a creative person, I think that you're gonna, by experimenting and by trying different things, eventually you're gonna find something that allows you to express that creativity in the world. And I always believe that you can turn that into a business somehow. So I hope that helps. Just ask yourself what's unique about you. And I always also, before I finish, I always tell people this. They're like, even if you're not like Evie, and even if you're kind of like, or Evie, even if you're like, I have all these different things, I don't know how they go together. So when I started, I had design, I had like personal development, I had business advice, all these things. I always challenge people to say, even if you don't think those things go together, there is a thread that goes through all of them, because that thread is you. So the fact that you are interested in those things, or good at those things, or have experience in those things, what is like the bigger theme that runs across all of them? So for me, that's why I made my entire brand around Made Vibrant, because whether it was design or whether it was like deep soul searching questions or writing or all these things, I realized that the thread that runs through everything that I'm interested in my life, I'm always looking for the greatest expression of something. Like I'm always interested in how I can unrestrain something and express it to its greatest degree, which to me is what vibrant means. So I would challenge you to look for whatever that thread is through all the things that you like to do. Oh, this is a good one, Lindsay. Okay. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the balance between consistency and evolution. I feel like I tend to hop around and switch directions a lot and fear that people might struggle to follow my journey and really capture my brand, but at the same time, I fear getting stuck in a rut for consistency's sake. Yes. So this is a toughie, right? Because it's like I was talking to you before about the Slack chat idea. So I only gave that 2 weeks to kind of live, right? And you can't really say you gave it a good college try if you did something for two times. But so consistency, I do want to say that even though I didn't talk about it a lot, consistency, once you do the experimenting and once you do the imperfect to find those things that do light you up, staying consistent with them is the most important part. So I guess to answer your question about evolution, it's about asking yourself if you're quote unquote, dropping something or giving up on something or you're ready to move on from something, it's about asking yourself what your motivations are for giving that thing up. Is it that it doesn't serve you? Or is it just that no one's paying attention, but you actually really do love it? So if it's the latter, if it's that you feel like people aren't responding, but you do love it, I would challenge you to keep going. I would challenge you to keep being consistent, keep trying it. If it just doesn't light you up and you're just like, this, I tried it and it didn't work and I didn't like it, then I say, why not quit it? So really, I think it's more about the motivation behind it, and getting really honest with yourself about, am I just stopping this thing because I don't want to put in the work? Am I just stopping this thing because I'm tired or I'm bored? And if so, you know, realizing that maybe the success or maybe the outcome isn't gonna come from that, but that's a decision that you get to make. So I don't think there's any one right answer. I just think it's all about going back to like understanding what your motivations are and really knowing when something is aligned with who you are, and when it's not. So I think it's okay if you're, especially if you're at the beginning of your business, Lindsay, and you're kind of trying different stuff, don't worry so much about people following along. Like, it's okay. The right people are gonna stick around because they get you and they resonate with you. So I think in whatever you're doing, if you're doing it authentically and you're explaining like, hey, you know, I tried this and it didn't work, or I did this, what you might find is that people even resonate with you more, because I think there are a lot more people in the world that are like you, that try different things, than there are any people that, you know, show up in this world and I'm like, I'm gonna be a concert pianist kind of person. I hope that helps. This is fun. How's everybody doing? Liking the questions, liking the content? I hope so. Reggie, wow, I need to find that thread. Reggie, that thread exists. You will find it, I promise you. If you keep thinking and if you keep being mindful and just experimenting with things, it will come to you, I promise. It will. Yay! Touche. I love that. Okay, so I think we already did this one, so I'm just going to start and then done. Okay, Katie. Since I've just launched my website and shop, Katie Gebb, how do you say your last name, Katie? Katie, we'll just call you Katie G for now. How do I now grow my followers beyond my friends and family? I'm so afraid of sounding too salesy or shinzy, or just not me. I want to make art and inspire creativity in others. So how do I gain followers and make a profit without selling my soul to sales? Okay, here's the truth. Authentic business sometimes takes longer. I'm just gonna tell you that right off the bat, but it is the best way to go, because once you do get those followers beyond just your family, they are gonna be the right people. They're gonna be the people that you actually want to talk to. So if you do write super salesy copy, or if you do like all kinds of crazy lead magnets and things like that to grow your list, that is totally a valid route. If you need to make money, if you, like, I'm not against that, that's fine. You do what you have to do in order to, you know, sustain your livelihood that you want. But I do need to tell you that you're gonna attract some of the people that are not your authentic tribe. So to answer your question, I know this is kind of a cop-out, but it's to just keep doing what you're doing. So for me, when I started Made Vibrant, like 3 weeks into it, I started my email newsletter. I just had read some blog article that was telling me that email marketing was like the most important thing, because that's where you can talk to your people and social media could be gone in 5 years. And I was like, that makes sense to me. So I'll start an email newsletter. And my first email newsletter, I sent it to 2 people. It was actually 4 people, but one of them was me and one of them was Jason. So it was to 2 people, but I poured my soul into it. And I spoke authentically, and everyone told me that you're never gonna get followers if you write email newsletters that are as long as yours are. And I was like, I don't care. Like, even if my list stays at 10 people, those 10 people, and they read every word, I'm not doing it to get followers. I'm doing it because I have a message that I wanna share with the world, and that is what lights me up, and so I'm gonna keep doing that. And so it's amazing, but I just kept showing up, and I just kept being myself, and I just kept my eye on that prize and said, whatever success that I get, I want it to be for the real me. Like, I don't want to be fake salesy Caroline and then get 100,000 blog followers, because then I have to be fake salesy Caroline for the rest of my life. And I will die if I have to be fake salesy Caroline for the rest of my life. So to answer your question, I know it's hard, because especially if you're in a little bit of a financial pickle, but I would even honestly consider, if you have to get some sort of part-time work in the meantime to take a little bit of the pressure off of your business so that you can stay authentic to who you are, I would consider that, because I'm telling you from experience, being yourself and growing your followers, even if it means at a more slow pace, it's going to be so much more worth it. Now, that said, you can still kind of hack the system in an authentic way. So an example of that I'll tell you is right when I first started the newsletter, it was like a couple months in, and I wanted to get more subscribers in order to launch my ebook. So I knew that I was only going to get sales of my ebook if I had my email audience built up. And so I was like trying to think of ways that I could kind of, spur growth, but not in a salesy way. So what I did was I created these free worksheets that I was gonna give to people for free if they gave me their email address. So that was a lead magnet, right? But I made sure that the worksheets weren't like 5 tips for improving your marketing or whatever. I really made the worksheets geared around the stuff that I was interested in, like the very soulful creative stuff. So one of them was like the social media sanity thing, where it was like I was freaking out about trying to be on every social media platform, and it was like causing me heart palpitations. And so I was like, this is something that needs to be talked about and needs to be helped for people. So I created that worksheet, and I attracted the right people, the more authentic people. Also, Katie, even if your audience is just your friends and family right now, try reaching out to those people and saying, do you guys have any people that you think would enjoy my stuff? Part of that helps in defining your audience very specifically, of saying like, this is my type of person. This is the type of person that I feel like would enjoy what I'm giving. Do you guys know anyone? And so that can help you go from that sort of first concentric circle to that second one. And then it'll just grow organically. So if it's up to me, I would say keep doing what you're doing, Katie, and be yourself. And if something feels icky and salesy, don't do it. Oh, I forgot. Okay, start answering. I think I'm like going so far over on the time that they're re-popping up. I really hope that helps, Katie. Okay, I'm gonna take a look here and see how many more questions we have. Have like 4, so I'm gonna try to do these more rapid fire. I know I'm a little bit long-winded, but you guys know that about me, so I'm not even gonna apologize for it. And then I will, so I'm aiming for like 12:15. So if you guys are wondering if you should hop off or stick around, and you still wanna get the last 15 minutes of Q&A, hang around for 15 more minutes, but I understand if you gotta go. Okay, Ashley's question, how to balance everything? Amen, Ashley. I'd love to just be creative all day and then rest because I'm tired from being so creative, but I have a 3-year-old and eventually need to eat and clean the house, spend time with my hubby, and have life. How can I gracefully choose what to focus on while not having FOMO? Ashley, it's a great question, and I have to be honest with you, I'm not a mom, so it's hard for me to give you advice that's not gonna just be like pulling it out of my butt, because I don't know what it's like to have, a 3-year-old yanking on your shirt to be like, feed me, like take care of me, play with me. That has got to be so hard. But I do know, just from being a person, that there are different things that want our attention, and some of those things we're going to have to pay attention to. But in terms of balance, my overarching answer is just to be intentional about the ways that you spend your time. So if it takes sitting down and saying, okay, here are what my top values are. It's spending time with my kid, and my husband, and it's gonna be spending at least an hour on my creative business a day. I think just the very act of sitting down and really getting specific about what those priorities are every day might help you keep the balance in check. And really then it's just about developing a practice for checking back in, which is what I was kind of talking about with Color Your Soul. It's like, I think when we feel like we're out of balance, it's because if we're really honest with ourselves, we haven't been intentional enough on a regular basis. And because when I think about intention, I think about that ownership piece. It makes you feel like you're in control of your own life and your own time, because you get to choose, okay, it is really important to me that I spend at least an hour with my husband at night, or when he gets home from work, or whatever that is, whatever that thing is for you. And so when you feel like you're making a choice, I feel like you feel less out of control, because you're like, I chose this. So unfortunately, I can't create more hours in the day. I wish I could, but I really do think that maybe it's creating some sort of intentional practice every day, and then committing to that, so that you feel like you know what your values are, you know what your priorities are, and you're able to feel a little bit more in control of doing that. Does that make sense? I really hope it helps. And if something has to fall by the wayside, if your creative business can't thrive for another couple of months until you have you know, clients that until your client work is done or something like that. Also ask yourself those hard questions. So be realistic about what you do think that you can do, and then, you know, start cutting things away if you have to. Okay, I hope that helped. Done answering. What program did you use to put together your ebook, InDesign? So here's a fun story, guys. My first ebook that I did last year, in the first year of my business, the one that like only sold, you know, a couple $100s worth, I didn't know how to use InDesign. And so I just used what I knew at the time, because I knew I just wanted to create this beautiful ebook. So I did every page of that ebook, which was something like 100 pages, in Photoshop. I don't recommend that. It was terrible. It also made the PDF like so clunky and big and awful, but I did it, and I got to do it using the skills that I had, and I put it out there, and I didn't worry about doing it the right way. Now, all of that said, when I redid the current version that you see in the shop now, which I'm really proud of because I did a lot of illustration work in it, I did that in InDesign. So I have since taught myself InDesign. And I would highly recommend that program if you're thinking about doing any sort of e-products like worksheets or ebooks or things like that. That is definitely the thing to use. Also, if you guys have heard of Paper and Oats, Kelsey over at Paper and Oats just created a course called the InDesign Field Guide, and I've heard really great things about it. So I would check that out if that's something that you want to learn. Hi, Caroline. What is your best advice for a college student with an entrepreneurial spirit and determination for success? I long to be a girl boss by inspiring and leading people. Hey, Hannah, my best advice is to first be yourself. Keep doing what you're doing because you sound cool. And I guess my advice for college would be, like, if I'm asking myself what I would go back and do differently, first, I would be very conscious of the things and the pressures that people are putting on you right now. You're probably getting it from your parents. You're probably getting it from your teachers. You're probably getting it from people around you, your friends. What are you gonna do after school? What are you gonna do after school? I listened to all of that, and it led me to start a career in advertising that I absolutely hated. So I would just be mindful of like trying the best you can to shut out some of that pressure and to really get clear on what you want and the direction that you want your life to take, not the direction that other people want you to take. So that's the first thing, is just like being aware of that, because I was not. And I didn't even know that entrepreneurship was like a thing in college. Like it did not occur to me that you don't like leave school and go work for a company, that there's another like hidden door number 3 where you just like get to be your own boss. No one told me that. So you're already ahead of the curve that you know that exists. The second thing would be use the time that you have. So the thing about when you get out of college is like, suddenly adulthood starts putting all of these like things in your face. It's like, pay your bills and like do this. And if you do have a 9-to-5 job, suddenly your boss wants things. And it's like all of these people want control over your time. And looking back, I feel like college was the time where I could have spent more time learning things. I wish I had taught myself Photoshop way back in college instead of having to stay up until 3 a.m., you know, after coming home from my like crappy advertising job to teach myself. So another thing I would do is just utilize the time that you have and learn things and experiment with things like I was saying. I feel like the stakes aren't quite as high when you're in college. So use that time and that period of your life to really try stuff. I was in this like, it just had this memory. It brought me back to this job interview at one of the agencies I interviewed for, or actually it was a pre-interview. It was like I took the guy out to lunch, and he was talking to me, and he was like, right after I graduated college, I went and I worked as like a picking up trash at like the Eagles Stadium in Philadelphia. And he was like, it was the coolest thing I ever did. And I'm so glad I did that before I started my advertising career, because it gave me all this cool life experience and I got to like figure stuff out. And I was like, I'm not gonna do that. I wouldn't just like take a year off after college and do something weird. That sounds like you're losing ground. Other people are gonna like be ahead in their career over me. And now that I'm, 5-6 years later, I'm like, God, he was so smart. I should have just taken that year off after college and like done stuff and lived off of, waited tables or something and just tried more things. So I hope that helps answer your question, Hannah, but sounds like you already got a major leg up on some people. And by people, I mean me, my former self. How did you roll out your blog for people to see? Devin. So this might be my first blog in 2011 was Clumsy Crafty Happy. And that I just started much like I think Katie was talking about. I just shared it on my Facebook. And so my friends and family started knowing that I was doing it. Then I did that consistently enough that people started noticing. So like friends of friends would find it from Facebook and then they would start sharing it. And then, so it kind of grew a little bit that way. And then when I started Made Vibrant, I had a little bit of a readership from that personal blog. And so they came over to Made Vibrant, and then it was just about consistently putting out content and really starting that newsletter, because if you're delivering value week after week, I think I'm up to like almost 90 weeks straight of doing an email newsletter. You do anything for that long and you do it in a valuable and authentic way, and people will notice. So there's no secret, I don't think, to like launching a blog or launching a presence. It's just doing it in an authentic way and in a consistent way, and people will take notice. Is illustration a field to go into if you don't have formal training? I want to do illustration and lettering, but don't have a structured way to learn. I am just doing it haphazardly and copying others. I know the software and can trace really good. What can I do? Andre, why the heck not? You know, I did some pretty cool illustration projects, and I've never gone to school for fine arts. I taught myself. I don't have an illustration style that's flawless, but if you have a point of view and if you do your art long enough to have a unique point of view. So what I'm also hearing from your question that I think is important is right now you're just copying others, which is a fantastic way to learn and get started. But I would challenge you to see if your style can kind of evolve over time, and how you can put your unique spin on it. And that's just gonna happen with, you know, volume of work. But once you kind of develop a style that is uniquely yours, that's when people started reaching out to me and saying, hey, can I pay you to do this book cover? Or, hey, can I pay you to do illustrations? And there's nothing that says that because you didn't go to school for illustration that you cannot be an illustrator. So I encourage you to just keep going, Andre, and keep up with the volume, keep consistently working on your craft, and find a way to experiment enough that you can develop your own style. Ta-da. Oh, thank you, Kelly, so much for dropping the Paper and Oats link. Devin, I'm glad that that answered your question. And can anyone else hear? Can you guys hear me? I think so, because I just answered Devin's question. So I'm going to delete that one. Okay. And then, DeAndre says, hi, thanks for making our souls more vibrant. Do you outsource anything? If so, what do you outsource and from where? That's a great question. So DeAndre, I just hired my very first assistant, Laura, who is phenomenal and amazing, and like, I can't even believe that I found her. And I hired her almost 2 months ago, I think. And so in terms of, so I do outsource some things to her. What do I outsource to her? We work together on projects. She's kind of just like support in a whole bunch of different ways. So one of the main things is every time I write a newsletter, she posts it to the blog. So that's something that is a little bit more on a regular basis, more mechanical stuff that helps free up some of my time. So things like that where and she even like designs the graphics for the blog and things like that. Things where she can more make it an automated process. She works on that. She helps me with the lettering course challenge, because there's a lot of different moving parts with like picking winners and mailing out prize packs and all that stuff. And that was becoming a little bit overwhelming for me, but I wanted to keep doing the challenge. So she helps me a lot with that. She helps me just on a regular basis with being like, remembering why I started Made Vibrant. So she was one of the biggest people when I came to her with the idea of Color Your Soul that I'd been thinking about for a while. And she's like, yes, do it. You have to do it. Because one of the reasons why she stood out to me during the hiring process is that she had a very clear sense of like why she followed Made Vibrant over other maybe like how-to or business or personal development kind of blogs out there. Like she kind of got what made Vibrant different. And so she really anchors me in terms of that and brings me back to that core purpose over and over again when I'm like, oh, but like, should I go do this course because I saw someone else do a course and maybe we should do it because it'll make us money, you know? And she's like, okay, but is that what we're here to do? And I'm like, you're right, dang it. So I love her for that. And we're always coming up with like things that she can help with. So we don't have like a super formal checklist of things that she helps with. It kind of changes by the month. I hope that answered your question. Did you purposely that shirt for National Cat Day? What, Corinne Mabel? Is it National Cat Day? Are you serious? Like house cat or like big cat? Because yeah, maybe I did. I'm just kidding. I really didn't. I didn't know it at all. But that's awesome. All right, I think that covers all of the questions. Oh, thank you so much, Anna. I really, really appreciate that. Also, like, perfect example, coloryoursoul.co. It's not a perfect website. I even, like last night, I was like, this is like too bright and it's just too, and then it's like, you know, that's not the point. The point is just to put something out in the world that you love and that you have an idea about. And so that is further proof of the fact of this experimenting, being authentic, just trying stuff, being imperfect, like all of those things have consistently helped me move forward and make progress. And I think that's what the most important part of trying to be your authentic self and becoming your most vibrant self is not allowing yourself to get stuck. Just keep moving forward. So thank you guys so much for showing up. This was amazing. I had so much fun. I didn't die. It was my first one by myself and I got really nervous. But you guys stuck with me through all the technical difficulties in the beginning, which I'm so happy about. Oh, Rachel. The search for the perfect yellow. Rachel of Yellow Leaf Hammocks was one of my very first amazing clients, and she holds a special place in my heart. And we did eventually find the perfect yellow. So thank you guys so much for being here. And if you had to pop off early, I hope you're enjoying this as the recap. I will send out the recap in the email in case you want to watch it again or take notes or do whatever. And there will be a lot of fun Color Your Soul updates coming in the near future. So please pop on over to coloryoursoul.co to enter your email address so you won't miss any of those. And you guys are amazing. Thanks a lot. Yay, I'm stopping the broadcast, but there's a delay. So